Hey, and welcome. Taoism begins with a surprisingly gentle idea. Life moves, whether we approve of it or not. We can spend our days gripping the river, trying to control every ripple, every bend, every speed change, or we can learn to move with it without losing ourselves. Taoism is not a productivity system. It's not a set of rigid beliefs. It's more like a way of seeing, a philosophy of naturalness, simplicity, and wise alignment. In this video, we'll explore Taoism through one central metaphor, the river, and then connect its insights to modern cognitive behavioral therapy in a grounded and practical way. Chapter 1: The River and the Tao. Imagine your life as a river, not a straight canal engineered for perfect efficiency. A living river, changing, seasonal, sometimes calm, sometimes wild. The Tao, often translated as the way, is like the natural flow of that river. It's the underlying pattern of how things unfold, without needing your constant interference. In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi points again and again to the simple truth that the world has its own intelligence. Not a thinking intelligence, but a natural one, like gravity, like growth, like the way a tree leans toward light. Taoism asks, what happens when you stop treating life like an opponent? Many of our daily struggles are not caused by life itself, but by the fight with life. The demand that things should be different, the insistence that emotions must disappear, the belief that we must control outcomes to feel safe, the fear that uncertainty equals danger. When you're fighting the river, even gentle water feels exhausting. Taoism doesn't say do nothing in a lazy way. It says stop doing the kind of doing that creates unnecessary resistance. This is where Taoism introduces one of its most famous ideas, Wu Wei. Wu Wei is often translated as non-action, but that translation can mislead. Wu Wei is closer to effortless action, action that aligns with the situation instead of forcing reality to obey your ego's timeline. Think of a skilled surfer. They aren't passive, they're not asleep on the board. They're active, but they move with the wave, not against it. Their effort is real, but it's not tense. It's responsive. That's Wu Wei. In modern life, many of us are doing the opposite. We're surfing the ocean by yelling at it. We try to force motivation, force confidence, force certainty, force constant positivity, force perfect control, and then we wonder why we're tired. Taoism offers a different path. Alignment over force. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to stop wasting your energy. Chapter 2: 3 Taoist Principles for a Modern Mind. Let's keep it practical. Taoism can sound poetic, but its usefulness becomes clear when we translate it into daily patterns. 1. Softness is strength. A central Taoist theme is that what's soft often outlasts what's hard. Water is soft, and yet it shapes stone. A tree that can bend survives storms that snap rigid branches. This isn't romantic symbolism. It's a real psychological strategy. In modern life, we often meet stress with hardness, harsh self-talk, rigid rules, perfectionism, all or nothing standards, emotional suppression. But hardness breaks. Softness adapts. Softness doesn't mean weakness. It means flexibility. The ability to respond instead of react. In human terms, softness looks like self-compassion after failure, taking a breath instead of escalating, letting feelings pass through without panic, allowing life to be imperfect without declaring it ruined. The Taoist mind doesn't ask, how do I control everything? It asks, how do I become resilient enough to meet what comes? 2. Simplicity clears the water. Taoism values simplicity not as minimalism aesthetics, but as mental clarity. A muddy glass of water becomes clear not by stirring harder, but by leaving it alone long enough for the sediment to settle. Many of our minds are muddy because we keep stirring. Constant input, constant opinion, constant comparison, constant explanation, constant urgency. Taoism invites less, not as deprivation, but as space. Simplicity can be fewer commitments, fewer mental arguments, fewer shoulds, fewer compulsions to prove yourself. This isn't escapism. It's returning to what matters. Sometimes the wisest decision is not add a new habit, but remove one unnecessary pressure. 3. Let go of rigid opposites. Taoism teaches that reality is not cleanly divided into good and bad, success and failure, light and dark. It's interdependent, yin and yang. Night contains the seed of morning. Winter prepares spring. Difficulty can deepen compassion. Loss can clarify values. This doesn't mean you pretend pain is good. It means you stop demanding that life be one-sided. Modern suffering often comes from rigid opposites. If I feel anxious, I can't function. If I don't succeed, I'm nothing. If I'm not happy, I'm failing. Taoism says, life is mixed, and your job is not to force purity. Your job is to learn how to flow with complexity. The river doesn't apologize for having rapids. It doesn't declare itself broken. It moves and then it moves again. Chapter 3, Taoism and Modern CBT, Where They Meet. Now let's bring Taoism into modern cognitive behavioral therapy. Not to claim they are the same thing, but to show how their insights can support each other. CBT is often described as a practical therapy that helps you identify unhelpful thought patterns and change behavior. Modern CBT includes developments like ACT and mindfulness-based approaches, which fit surprisingly well with Taoist wisdom. Here are 3 clear bridges. 1. Wu Wei and dropping the struggle. In CBT and related therapies, a key shift is learning to stop fighting internal experience in ways that make it worse. For example, with anxiety, the more you try to force it away, the more attention you give it. Modern CBT approaches often teach acceptance-based skills. Noticing sensations, labeling thoughts, allowing feelings to rise and fall, choosing actions based on values, not fear. This is Wu Wei psychologically, not passive resignation, but aligned response. Instead of how do I force calm, you ask, how do I relate to anxiety in a way that lets it pass? That's moving with the river. 2. Taoist softness and cognitive flexibility. CBT targets rigid thinking, all or nothing beliefs, catastrophic predictions, harsh self-judgments. Taoism targets rigidity at the level of being. Both point to the same truth. Rigidity increases suffering. Softness in Taoism becomes cognitive flexibility in CBT. This is difficult, but not hopeless. I can feel fear and still act. This is one moment, not my whole future. I don't need perfect certainty to take one step. Softness is the mind that can bend without breaking. 3. Simplicity and behavioral change. CBT also includes behavioral activation and exposure, small, real actions that shift the system. Taoism supports this by discouraging over-control and over-complication. A Taoist CBT way of changing looks like: identify one small lever, act gently and consistently, stop demanding instant transformation, let progress be seasonal. If you've ever tried to fix your whole life in 1 week, you know how exhausting the opposite feels. Taoism reminds you the river doesn't rush. It arrives by moving. A practical Taoist CBT practice, 60 seconds. Here's a simple exercise that blends both. Notice what you're fighting right now, a feeling, a thought, an outcome. Ask, what happens if I soften my grip by 10%? Take one small, aligned action anyway. Not a heroic action, a gentle one. Send the email, take the walk, apologize, drink water. Begin the first paragraph. That's Wu Wei in modern life. Less force, more alignment. Taoism doesn't promise you a life without difficulty. It offers something quieter, a life with less resistance. The river will still have storms, but you won't waste your strength arguing with the water. And modern CBT doesn't promise you perfect thoughts or constant happiness. It offers something equally grounded, a way to work with your mind and behavior so you can suffer less and live more. Together, Taoism and CBT point toward the same gentle wisdom. You don't have to control the river to move forward. You only have to learn how to float, steer, and keep going, with softness, simplicity, and one next step at a time. Are there specific topics you're interested in or a particular question you'd like answered in your life? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe now and join me on your journey toward more clarity and inner strength.